I think there's no harm in a pumpkin spice latte.
Bruh. So I'm here in Kailua-Kona, and it turns out that there's actually a Kona Coffee Festival going on, and so I've come here to Kona Coffee and Tea to come to one of their events, which is about barista training, how to make better coffee at home. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to check out. So let's go check it out.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Are you here for the home brewing workshop?
I'm here for that though.
You are? Alright, I'm gonna start you. Can I start you at Group C?
Awesome.
So you're award-winning. What does that mean?
Within the specialty coffee industry, there's competitions, and we had prelims competitions on this island. I just happened to win, and I got first place for the Brewers Cup. So I'm going on to the next round. The next round is actually qualifiers for regionals. They haven't announced the location or the dates yet, but I'm getting ready for that one. This is a coffee that was roasted by Kona Coffee and Tea. It's 100% Kona Coffee. Kona Coffee and Tea is this location right over here. I believe they roasted right on their District in the back. Kona Coffee and Tea actually owns their farm, so it's all in-house from actually farm to roaster and now cup right here. It's brewed on the Clever Dripper. I like the Clever Dripper. It's super easy to use. Full immersion mixed with a filter. Full immersion that a lot of people are used to is that French press over there. No filter, really oily, has a lot of body inside of it. Clever is just a hybrid, adds that paper filter, really cleans it up, allows you to do a lot of cool things with it. So I really like to stir the coffee after I'm pouring all the water in. I time it for a certain amount, and I like to use a 1:16 coffee ratio.
And this is what you use for the competition?
Yes, this is the brew method that I did. Very similar recipe. I changed the recipe up because part of the competition is you really don't get to choose or see your coffee up until a couple minutes before you compete. So you have to really be able to adapt your recipe to really make that coffee stand out. So I did a similar recipe for that competition, and I just use 1:16. I make sure that I'm making hot water. That's the most important part. You don't want to use too low of water, and you don't want to use too hot. So I use 210 degrees water. 1:16 coffee ratio, 1 gram of coffee, 16 grams of water, and I time it. So for this one I did 3 minutes, but for the competition I did 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then Brian, he's using the same thing over there. His recipe is very similar to mine, and I think that the main thing that we wanted to showcase is that with the Clever Dripper, doesn't matter what your skill level is, it's super easy to make good coffee. And even if you change a lot of things between two different recipes, coffee comes out tasting pretty similar. It's hard to mess up on the Clever Dripper. And that's really the most important part, is using filtered water, making sure that you have a coffee scale and weighing everything out, making sure you're timing everything as well. Those are the most important parts.
I started my coffee culture, and then I went to very sweet coffee, and then ate my
Really hard to cut.
in my 30s I started drinking black coffee. You guys want to take a whiff? Smell the coffee before I pour? If you guys don't mind. I'm cold free. You never know.
And what's your feeling on light medium conversation?
I am very much a light roast person.
So I don't roasted extremely well.
Well, the quality of the beans is even more, and I like fruitier notes more than chocolate notes. Because it depends, right? If you want dark roast, then you're tasting more of the roast. I want to taste the fruitiness, the sugar from the bean. So lighter roast way is more acidic. A lot of people don't like acidity, but to me, acidic boosts the salivation process. So that does boost the chemical reaction. So in a way, it's like drinking wine and whiskey. I'm a Scotch whiskey guy, so I'm a wine guy too.
Are you also like an IPA person?
I am.
Okay.
I was an IPA person when I grew up in Alaska.
Oh, Alaska.
But recently I found out IPA because the hops, it actually boosts estrogen. So I'm already pretty feminine to a point. So I don't drink IPAs anymore. I drink more stouts now.
Okay, I'm jumping out of well, we got a break here because I think I wanted to address something that some of you may be posting in the comments. Like, why am I asking what might be considered softball, or, why am I playing dumb, essentially? But basically, I kind of want to have the experience as a regular person that's not in the coffee business. I won't lie about being in the business, so if someone asks me what I do, I won't really lie about it. Part of it's because these guys are the ones hosting it, and they want to share their knowledge, and I want to learn something. There's a lot, no matter how long I've been in the business, there's always something to be learned, and that learning can come from any source, regardless of how long they may or may not have been in the business. So I'm happy to play the role of just another person, enjoying the coffee, enjoying the conversation, listening in to other theories about coffee. So in case you were wondering, that's kind of why I'm kind of playing it a little bit coy, because I just want to be able to appreciate what everyone has to offer. All right, let's go back to it.
Ready? Okay. Aloha, everybody. My name is Eric. This is Chance.
Hi, I'm Chance.
Chance is the restaurant manager here at Kona Coffee and Tea Company, a fellow coffee lover, aficionado, cube grader, and restaurant guy. Are we all baristas? Are we interested in coffee? Do all of us work in coffee, or none of us work in coffee? We drink coffee. Perfect. Me too. From lovers to baristas, this is hopefully just a moment for us to understand what good, bad, and interesting coffee should taste like with all these brew methods. We're just trying to figure out skills, traits, and little things that we can take away to learn how to identify what bad coffee is and then troubleshoot from there. But we're gonna go over 2 different ways or 3 different ways about how we can get some better French presses. The first one is going to be full submersion or immersion or steeping method, which means that the water is going to be surrounding the coffee during the whole extraction process. It's then filtered out through a metal screen, which will leave some of the volatiles and oil inside of your cup of coffee, and that could change the way that the coffee tastes. So we are all using the same coffee, and I think you'll realize after we try it that this is going to taste slightly different than the rest of them. Some of the oils are still going to be in the cup. Some of the volatiles or tiny little fine grind of coffee is going to be in your cup today, and that's going to change the flavor of it some. And that's okay, it's just a little bit different. This coffee in the mouth will be a little bit denser. So like a filtered coffee or filtered brew versus non. This is going to be the non-filter. This is going to be a little bit cloudier. It's not going to be as opaque or clear. We're doing 2 different recipes tonight. We're going to be doing a 15-to-1, which means that for every 1 gram of coffee, we're doing 15 grams of water. We're going to do 18-to-1. And then this is going to be what happens when you just let it go forever. So I started brewing this in the rotation, and I'm not going to press it down for a while. And we're going to taste what over-extracted French press tastes like. For every 1 gram of coffee, we're going to add 15 grams of water. Everyone should use scales. Throw away your tablespoon measurement. It doesn't work anymore. We're not doing that. And the reason is because accuracy. Like, what's the difference between a heaping tablespoon and a tablespoon could be huge. So I'm going to be pouring all of the coffee in here. I pre-measured this to be about 825 grams of water. So this is 55 grams of coffee to achieve the 15-to-1. After I do this, I'm going to tare back down to 0. I'm going to start the timer, and we're going to pour water in here just enough to cover the bed of coffee underneath. This is called the bloom. You'll see that there's going to be a little bit of expansion in the coffee. It looks like it's rising a little bit, and then you'll see little bubbles start to appear, and that's all the gases escaping the coffee grounds and blooming, as it were. Starting the timer, I'm going to pour some coffee in there. Or sorry, some water in there. And if everyone can see, after I stir, see how there's like little small tiny bubbles, and some bigger ones too. So we're gonna let it bloom for about, I'm thinking, 30 seconds, and then I'm gonna pour the remainder of the water in there. But as I pour the remainder of the water, I'm not gonna try to disturb the whole bed of coffee, because we don't want the coffee grinds to fall. As soon as they fall inside of the pitcher, it will stop extracting at a normal rate. So I'm gonna pour just right in the center, and just keep it right in the center. And then as the coffee rises and reaches 825 grams in a moment. All right, so as you can see here, I was pouring like right in the center, and then I left all of that to go. Because if you disturb the coffee a little bit too much, it'll fall, and again, it'll stop extracting, and then we're gonna get under-extracted French press. So again, 15-1, we'll taste this in a minute. I'm gonna do the exact same thing, but with the 18-1.
So how long do you let it sit?
Great question. So we're gonna do 4.5 minutes. You can let them go for a long time, and they'll hold because the surface area is not nearly as big as if it was a tiny fine grind. It takes a little bit while for the water to permeate and penetrate the coffee to start the extraction.
Is it just boiling or
200.
200?
You can go a little bit over to like 204, but that's pretty much stop there. If you're at 1,000-foot elevation, water boils at 208. Depending on where you are up into the atmosphere, the boiling point will reduce a lot. This is going to be 45 grams of coffee, which is going to be an 18-1 ratio. I'm going to start pouring now. Is anyone's primary brewing preference French presses? Yes? Why?
I like it for the extraction, and worst case scenario, if it's good coffee, it can be over extracted. I can go take care of my kid real quick, go plunge it, press it down. That's that.
Totally. So I think French presses, they're the most forgiving of brewing methods. If you do a pour over for like literally 10 seconds longer than it's supposed to, it could get really bad really quick. French presses you can push for like minutes, and it's going to be okay. It'll be palatable.
So is this your favorite?
It is not. I prefer pour overs. However, I don't have kids, and I'm single and don't have to do anything. And so it's very ritualistic for me in the morning to just like make my pour over and not have to do anything else. So I have a Kalita dripper, which is very similar to a Clever in shape. And then I just brew those. Okay, so we've hit about 4 minutes here, so we have a couple more seconds. I'm gonna probably push it to about 5 minutes tonight because it's a light roast and I kind of want to extract it a little bit more.
And then you accidentally push it down.
Too early?
Yeah.
So that will basically stop the extraction. It is very difficult, and I would almost say like not worth trying to recover at that point. Something about the beans, it just stops. I remember in college when I was not super confident in my barista making, I would like try to pump it up and down to like irritate them. Not a good idea. Don't do that. It tasted horrible. Chance will come around and serve this one for you guys.
This is the 17 one?
This is the 15.
15 one. Okay, thank you.
After you press it down, what happens if you just let it sit?
So it'll last a pretty long time. So for all intents and purposes, because you've suppressed the amount of water out of the coffee beans generally, there's nothing left to, it'll basically stop extracting because nothing is extracting it anymore. The only water that's touching the beans is the one that's on the other side of the filter. And that's when like the last pour it tastes weird or different, is because you're getting all the water out of the grounds. And you also get a lot of like the grind in that too. Which some people are like, punch to the back of the throat. I'm like, not my favorite. What you're sipping now is what you should be tasting. Anything towards the bottom, I normally just toss. Because it's not going to be good.
What is the word? Find your wine thing. Like it's more complex or something. It's got more
Body?
nuance. Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. That's it. It's thicker.
It's thicker, yes. And if you even look at the coffee in good light, it looks cloudy. I think that the oils and all the other things present in the cup that weren't filtered out by the paper filter is what you're tasting. At about 5 minutes, I don't think it's over extracted, but I think you get this like nice hazelnut, walnut nuttiness, caramel, toffee. I think it's pleasant. Chance will now pour the 18-1, and this is going to be more water to coffee ratio. So theoretically, remember what this one tastes like, the 15-1. The next one might taste a little thinner in body or thinner in flavor, but I think it might be a little bit more floral and bright because we're like pulling more out of the coffee bean. We're asking more of the coffee bean. Yeah, in this ratio. Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely less body.
Yeah, less body.
Less definition in the brightness too.
I think the 15-1 is good. I think last time I just did this, the 15-1 was better. I think it was a little bit more like dense in flavor and a bit more like layered. I haven't tried this one yet though, so we'll see what I think. Anything different? Or is it about the same? Very different. Significantly hotter. Yeah. Yeah, I think this one's a bit more floral, tea-like in body, so it has like a jasmine, Earl Grey kind of flavor notes, I think. Yeah, I think I'm gonna let it cool down for just a minute so I don't scorch my tongue. And then the next one we'll try is one that's been over-extracted. We save this one for last because I don't want to ruin your tongue. One of the previous attendants were saying what size grind. The coarsest that yours will go is probably good. I would say granularly, it looks like sea salt in that it's like thick grinds, thick crystals. If you get it in like an auto drip one, it's too fine and it'll taste a little bit burnt or toasty. As this cools, I think this is tasting good. They don't have any objections about this flavor. I think it's good. It kind of tastes like French toast in that it's like a sugary, baked kind of thing. I think the 18-to-1 is a little bit better for this one, so a little bit more water than it is to coffee. I think this tastes a little bit more complex. Like you get like the chocolate, dark chocolate, hazelnut stuff, but you also get a little bit of sweetness as well. It's a little bit more present. Great, and now I want to try to make sure it happened because I think, it tastes alright. This has been brewing for too long.
Was it the 18-to-1 or 15-to-1?
This is 15-to-1. I think. It doesn't smell as good. This to me tastes flat. Like there's not a whole lot going on. It's a little cardboardy. Another word for that is baggy. It tastes a little bit like jute, which is like the burlap bag that it's like covered in. You know, a little cream and sugar would take that thing a long way, but it doesn't taste the worst. Like it's okay, and I let this go for like as long as it would go. So the grounds fell naturally, which means that they're fully saturated with water and now they're too heavy so that they fall. It tastes fine. It's fine. If I ordered that at Denny's, I would be stoked because that's not bad. All this to say, French press coffee is the most forgiving. So if you have something to do in the morning and you want like a longer brew time, French press is the way to go. The other ones, you have to sit there and stand and do this for a long time. This one, you pull it with water and just walk away, flip the laundry, I don't know, fry an egg, whatever you want. This is the most forgiving. However, most coffee shops don't do this anymore, and I don't know why. But you will find pour-overs to be a little bit more technical and finessed. I think I do pour-overs at home. This is probably the way to go for anyone who has to, like a normal life to live that has somewhere to be at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's also very inexpensive. You can go to IKEA, Safeway, and buy a French press that's going to do just fine. I think that in general, allowing the coffee to give you all that it has in terms of like oils and other things that you're not filtering out will change the way that it tastes. For better or for worse, it's totally up to you. It's, I think, pretty objective at that point. It's just whatever you like. I like really jammy, floral, weird coffee flavors. I'm not so much of like a chocolate kind of guy. It's just preference, I think. It is, yeah, if there's more going on, it's something different, better. And I think, circling back, the 18-to-1 did that more than the 15-to-1 tonight in this French press.
My name is Meg, and this is Alaka'i. She is the head roaster at PCR, and I'm her assistant. But we're going to be showing you a pour-over method. The equipment that we're using is the Fellow pour-over.
How are these different than the other pour-overs?
A lot of it is just different shapes. So if you guys look at it, because I haven't started brewing yet, it's a circle, right? Sometimes you'll see ones that are a little bit more flat on the bottom and then kind of go up on the side. So it'll be more like almost an oval inside, like a Hario V60. Sometimes you'll see ones like Chemex where it is still a circle, but then it kind of like opens up and you'll see like this shape. Sometimes when you're doing pour-overs, it can be easy to like get water in because you're hitting above the line, because this one is a circle and kind of just goes straight down.
There's also a lot more holes on the bottom of these ones, so it allows the percolation to run a little bit faster. The more holes on the bottom or the bigger the exit, then the more water goes through. So it doesn't hold all of the water in contact with the coffee. It prevents over-extraction, and you end up with a really nicely extracted cup of coffee.
So we're going to be showcasing two different end products with the same stuff going into it. So we both have 20 grams of coffee that we are ground at the same level of grind. The only thing that we're doing differently between us two is the ratio of brew, which will be the ratio of how much water you're adding into your coffee. So I'm doing a 1:15 ratio, more intense range, and it would basically be as intense as we would ever recommend. And she's doing a 1:18, which is going to be a lot less intense. But as you try it, you might find that you prefer the 1:18. You never know. And also, you're getting more bang to your buck than with coffee, because you're getting a lot more coffee out of the same amount.
If you're brewing that and you want a larger volume, then a 1:18 is recommended. recommended because she's gonna end up with 300 grams of coffee and I'm gonna end up with 360 grams of coffee with the same amount of actual coffee, but I'm using more water, so you're gonna get a larger cup of coffee.
Is there a particular method to your pouring?
Yeah, as we're pouring, we're trying to go in a circular motion so that we saturate all the grinds and also continue agitation. So we don't ever want the grinds to stop moving, because if they stop moving or if they fully dry out, then it will basically create an uneven extraction.
What I like to call this is the pulse brew. So I pour 50 grams at a time, I let it sit for a moment, and then I'll add another 50 grams. And I'll do that throughout my entire extraction process. I find that 50 grams provides a good amount of time in between each pour, but it keeps the bed of grounds in a state of agitation, in a state of extraction. I don't ever let it settle all the way and dry out. She's got her 1:15 ratio.
It's gonna be a lot faster because I have less water to pour, right?
I have more water to pour.
But it also means that she's gonna end up with more at the end.
So what temperature are you?
Typically, we like to do 203 to 205. I like it to be right in the middle at 204. That will depend on your elevation. If you're in Colorado, you have a lower boiling temperature, right?
7,300 feet.
There you go. So, your elevation, much like baking, will affect what temperature you want to brew your coffee at. I would say 200 to maybe even 198, but because we're so close to sea level, I do a little bit higher.
So one thing I would like to point out real fast while you guys are tasting, just initially tasting, so you just came from the French press station. This is the exact same coffee. Does it taste different?
Yes.
Yeah, it tastes pretty different, right? So one of the reasons that we are offering this class is that you can kind of like figure out how you like your coffee. Like, do you prefer the flavor that you get with a French press versus do you prefer the flavor that you get with a pour over? Or do you prefer the flavor that you get with a Clever? There's so many different ways of brewing coffee and enjoying your coffee. And so this is kind of showcasing all the different ways that you can brew and enjoy. And you can kind of figure out which one you like better for yourself personally. And then as you try hers, you're going to see how you can even dial it in a little bit more. And be like, even within a certain brewing method, maybe I prefer a higher ratio level. And you can kind of dial it in and just see what your actual end product will be.
So one thing that I really want to say is that coffee is all preference. There's no wrong way to drink coffee. If you like dark roast, right on. There's never a wrong way. If you like espresso and sugar in your coffee, great. If you like black coffee, great. And the way that you brew your coffee and the technique that affects the final outcome, that is all preference as well. So if you like French press, and that's what's convenient for you, go for it. If you like pour over and the ritual and the time that it takes to actually go through this process in the morning, go for that. I like this process. I don't like French press very much. I think it's gritty, it's a little bitter, and it's not what I prefer.
Coffee is such a personalized experience. You know, we have a lot of ways of grading it and judging the quality of the coffee, and she's actually a Q grader, which basically means that she's like the wine sommelier, but for coffee, which means that she's got a super refined palate.
Oh, whatever.
I taste all of the good notes.
It is so subjective.
So when they do their competitions, the cupping competitions, do they all do the same type of brew method?
So there is a standard cupping form that we use. It's standardized by the Specialty Coffee Association. We use the 5 cups. It's all roasted exactly the same, which is a light roast, a cupping roast, and that allows us to taste the most out of every cup of coffee. Medium roast will develop those flavors a little bit beyond what we want in order to taste everything that coffee has to offer. I've been a Q grader for a year and a half now. We're trained to talk about the coffee in a very unbiased way.
So obviously, just being human, we all have biases that they're trying to remove as much as possible whenever we're doing tasting. Just using a flavor lexicon of oh, these are flavors that I've tasted before in my life, and these are things that I can find and pick out specifically in this coffee.
Do they do a pour over for the competitions? It's not as standard.
And we just have uniform cupping bowls. There's 5 bowls for each set of coffee because we want to be able to taste for consistency throughout that coffee. So it's just a full immersion kind of brew. And we go around with our spoons and we sip and spit and slurp and do all the things.
Incredibly caffeinated.
1 to 18 ratio, the exact same coffee. I feel like a 1 to 15 is like substantially more intense than what I like. I have 3 grams more of water per gram of coffee than she did. So I have more extraction and a more diluted brew. But that can positively affect the flavor because you're going to have a more diluted experience and it lets your palate perceive more of it.
Yeah.
Our palates are only capable of perceiving so much at one time. That's why if something's very hot, your brain literally doesn't let you taste it. If it's very cold, it does the exact same thing. So the heat will, or lack of heat, will affect what you're able to perceive. Like ice cream. There's more flavor in melted ice cream than there is in frozen ice cream.
Do you guys want to try either one again? Yeah. It's going to be a little bit less warm.
What do you think about these?
If I was going to say what my favorite would be,
Okay,
was
perfect.
this one. What's this one's called?
With Koana?
Yes.
Oh,
That
okay.
was my favorite. Second favorite was the 18th one on the French press. And then I'd say this is my least favorite. But they're all good. I don't normally drink black coffee. I typically put milk in it. But I would drink black coffee if it was made like this. It was really good. The flavor was
I don't really drink much coffee. I'm not really a coffee guy. I'm surprised of how different it is for all the different coffees, brewing methods. I didn't expect it to really taste the difference. As far as the one that I like the most, I definitely like the Clever dripper the most.
So are you guys from Kona or?
No, California. So I'm from San Diego and they're from LA.
Oh, are you here for this festival or?
We didn't even know it existed until
We were driving down and we saw Kona Festival coffee. It's let's look it up, and then
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's good timing too. If you haven't gotten a chance, we went to the Living Historical Farm earlier today.
Oh, I saw that event. Okay.
It's super cool. They have people that tell you all about what it was like being a Japanese farmer in the 1920s through the early 1990s.
All right. Thanks.
All you can give.